I was standing there when he said it. These new rules will finally get rid of deadweight. Brant, that was his name. My manager for the past 4 years. He was looking straight at me when those words came out of his mouth. Not a quick glance, not a subtle hint. Direct, intentional. Like he wanted to make sure I understood exactly who he was talking about. The room had about 15 people in it. Some from my floor, some from other departments. Every single one of them nodded. A few even had this small smile playing on their lips, like they were all in on some private joke and I was the punchline. I had been working at Crestline Industries for 11 years. 11. That is more than a decade of showing up early, staying late when things needed to get done, making sure everything we did was right, not just good enough. Right. Because in my role, if things went wrong, people could get hurt, not physically, but their lives could fall apart. Jobs lost, families struggling, all because someone decided to skip a step or ignore a rule that seemed inconvenient. I was the person who made sure we followed those rules. That was my job. Senior officer in the division that checked everything twice. The division nobody liked because we asked uncomfortable questions and said no when everyone else wanted to say yes. For 11 years, I thought that mattered. Brant kept talking. He had this way of speaking where every word sounded important, even when he was not saying anything meaningful. He was good at that, making people believe he knew what he was doing. Starting next month, we are implementing some changes. Nothing major, just updates to keep things running smoothly. He clicked something and words appeared on the wall behind him. Big white letters on a blue background. Mandatory additional hours, no extra payment, just part of the job now. Evaluation reviews every 14 days. Not the usual once or twice a year. Every 2 weeks, someone would sit you down and pick apart everything you did. Relocation requirement. If the higher-ups decided you were needed somewhere else, you had 1 week to pack up your entire life and move. No discussion, no negotiation. The list went on. I felt something twist in my chest. Not because I was surprised. I had seen this coming. But seeing it laid out like that, hearing Brant announce it with that satisfied tone, watching everyone else nod along like it all made perfect sense, all that hurt more than I expected. 3 months earlier, things had started changing. It began small. Brant stopped including me in certain conversations. Meetings I used to be part of suddenly happened without me. When I asked about it, he would say something vague. Oh, we handled it already. Or, nothing you needed to worry about. Then my coworkers started acting different. People I had worked with for years. We used to talk during breaks, share stories about our lives outside of work. Slowly, that stopped. They would lower their voices when I walked past, turn away when I looked their direction. It was not obvious enough to confront, but clear enough to feel. I told myself I was imagining it. Maybe I was being sensitive. Maybe I was tired. Then the promotion happened. Or rather, did not happen. There was an opening for a lead position in our division. I had been doing that work already for 2 years, training new people, handling the complicated situations, fixing problems nobody else wanted to touch. Everyone knew I was next in line. I knew I was next in line. They gave it to someone else. Derek. He had been there for 3 years. Nice enough guy, but he did not have the experience. He did not know the work the way I did. When the announcement was made, he could not even look at me. He knew it should have been mine. I asked Brant about it. Stayed calm, professional. Asked what I could do better next time. He leaned back in his seat and looked at me like I had asked something ridiculous. You are good at the work, sure, but you are not really a team player. Team player. That phrase made my skin feel hot. What do you mean? You push back too much. You make things difficult when they do not need to be. People are trying to get things done and you are always finding problems. I stared at him. That is literally my job. I am supposed to find problems before they become bigger problems. He shrugged. There is a way to do it without slowing everything down. What he really meant was, stop saying no. Stop pointing out when things were being done wrong. Stop making us uncomfortable. Because that was what had started all of this. About 5 months before that conversation, Brant and a few others had come to me with a proposal. They wanted to change how we processed certain approvals, cut some steps, speed things up. I read through what they wanted to do, and I knew immediately it would not work. Not legally. If anyone checked later, if anything went wrong, it would come back on all of us. Brant was annoyed, but he tried to push. Nobody is going to check. This is just to make things more efficient. Until someone does check. Then what? You worry too much. That is my job. He did not like that. None of them did. But they could not force me to approve it. So they went around me, found ways to do what they wanted, without needing my signature. And when I noticed and brought it up, I became the problem. Not the people breaking rules. Me, for noticing. That was when I stopped being part of the team. My name is Freya, by the way. I should have said that earlier. I am not good at talking about myself. Never have been. I always thought the work should speak for itself. Show up, do the job right, go home. That should be enough. It was not enough. So here I was, standing in this room, listening to Brant announce rules that were clearly designed to push me out. Rules that would make my life so miserable I would quit on my own, or give them a reason to fire me. I looked around the room. Some people were staring at the words on the wall. Others were looking at their hands. A few were looking at me. Nobody said anything. Nobody asked if this was fair. Nobody questioned why these changes were suddenly necessary. Brant finished his little speech. Any questions? Silence. He smiled. Great. We will start implementation on the 1st of next month. Let's make this transition smooth. People started gathering their things. The meeting was ending. I stayed where I was. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask how they could all just sit there and let this happen. I wanted to walk out and never come back. But I did not do any of that, because 3 months ago, something else had happened. Something Brant did not know about. Something almost nobody knew about. The owners of Crestline Industries had been looking for people to serve on a special committee, national level. The group that reviewed and approved every major policy for the entire organization. Hiring, firing, transfers, pay structures, all of it. They wanted someone who actually understood how things worked. Not just someone who knew how to play politics. They wanted someone who would read through proposals and catch problems before they became disasters. They asked me. It was meant to be quiet. No big announcement. They did not want people trying to use me to push their own agendas. So I said yes, signed the paperwork, and kept doing my regular job. Only a handful of people at the top knew. Brant was not one of them. 2 months ago, his little group put together their proposal. The new rules, the changes that would let them get rid of me. They submitted it through the proper channels, thinking it would just get rubber-stamped by whoever was in charge of that kind of thing. It came to me. I read every word. I saw exactly what they were trying to do, and I spent 3 days rewriting it. I kept the same structure, same titles, same official language, but I changed who it applied to. Every single rule now had one specific exception built into the wording. Does not apply to officers currently serving on the National Policy Committee. That was me, only me. I also made sure the rules could not be changed easily. Once approved, they would stay in place for at least 2 years. No appeals, no revisions unless there was a legal reason. Then I signed it, approved it, sent it back. They never read the final version. They just saw that their proposal had been accepted and celebrated. Now here we were. Brant had just announced the rules that he thought would destroy me, and everyone in this room thought I was finished. I stood up. The room got quiet again. People turned to look at me. Brant, I said. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Can I ask you something? He looked annoyed. Probably thought I was going to argue, complain, make a scene. What? Did anyone actually read who approved this? He blinked. What? You... I walked toward the front of the room. Slowly. I wanted everyone to see this. The approval signature. Did you look at it? He glanced at the projection on the wall, then back at me. It went through the proper process. That is all that matters. Show the signature page. That is not. Show it. Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you for listening. I know you have a lot of choices for what to spend your time on, and I appreciate you being here with me right now. If you are listening while working, while traveling, while doing anything at all, thank you. Let me know where you are listening from. I would love to know. Now, back to what happened in that room. Brant looked uncomfortable, but someone else in the room clicked through to the last page, the signature page. There it was, my name, clear as anything. That is my signature, I said. I approved this because it came through the National Policy Committee, which I serve on. The room was so quiet I could hear someone breathing too loudly. And if anyone had actually read the final version, you would have seen the exception clause. Let me read it for you. I read it out loud, every word, slowly, making sure everyone understood. The rules applied to everyone. except officers on the National Policy Committee. Brant's face went from confused to pale in about 5 seconds. These rules take effect in 2 weeks, I continued, and according to the approval process, they cannot be changed for at least 2 years, unless there is a legal violation. I made sure of that. Someone dropped something, a pen maybe. It clattered on the floor, but nobody moved to pick it up. I looked at Brant, really looked at him. You wanted to get rid of dead weight. So did I. Then I walked out. The next 2 weeks were strange. People avoided me even more than before, but it was different now. Before, they avoided me because they thought I was weak, finished. Now they avoided me because they were scared. Brant did not speak to me at all. He would see me in the hallway and turn around, go a different direction. Once I saw him waiting for an elevator, and when the doors opened and he saw me inside, he just walked away, said he forgot something, took the stairs instead. Derek, the one who got my promotion, came to my workspace 3 days after the meeting. He stood there for a while before saying anything. I did not know, he finally said. I looked up from what I was working on. Did not know what? About the committee, about what they were trying to do. I believed him. Derek was not smart enough to be part of Brant's planning. He just benefited from it. Okay, I said. I am sorry. For what? Taking the promotion? You did not turn it down. Nobody would. He shifted his weight. Uncomfortable. Are you going to, with the new rules, am I going to come after you? I finished for him. No, you did not create this mess. You just accepted what was offered. He nodded, relieved. Then he left. But the others, the ones who had been part of Brant's little group, they were panicking. There were 5 of them total. Brant, obviously. Then Simone, who worked in operations. Keith, from finance. Lori, who handled client relations, and Todd, another manager from a different floor. They had all been in on it. All of them had pushed for the new rules, thinking it would clear me out and make their lives easier. No more someone asking difficult questions. No more someone slowing down their shortcuts. Now those same rules were about to apply to them. The mandatory additional hours hit first. Simone was the first one to crack. She had 2 kids, young ones. Her whole life was built around leaving at exactly 5 every day to pick them up from the place that watched them after school. The new rules meant she had to stay at least 3 extra hours, 4 days a week. She tried to find a workaround, asked if she could come in earlier instead, work from home, anything. The rules said no. Additional hours had to be on-site, end of day. No exceptions, except for me. I watched her get more and more exhausted. She started showing up looking like she had not slept. Her work got sloppy. She forgot things, missed deadlines. After 2 weeks, she quit. Just walked in one morning and said she was done, could not do it anymore. 4 left. Keith was next. The evaluation reviews every 14 days destroyed him. See, Keith was the kind of person who looked good on paper but did not actually do much. He was great at talking in meetings, making it sound like he was busy and important. But when you actually looked at what he produced, it was thin, surface level. The reviews exposed that. Every 2 weeks, someone sat down with him and went through everything he was supposed to have done. Every 2 weeks, the list of problems got longer. He tried to argue, said the reviews were too frequent, too harsh. He appealed to Brant, who could not do anything because the rules were locked in. He went above Brant, but everyone higher up just shrugged. The rules were approved, properly signed off on. Nothing to be done. After 6 reviews, Keith was put on a performance plan. That is the step before getting fired. He saw where it was going and found another job. Gone within a month. 3 left. Lori and Todd both got hit with the relocation requirement at the same time. Different locations, but same situation. The higher-ups decided they were needed elsewhere. 4 hours away for Lori, 5 for Todd. They each had 1 week to decide. Lori had just bought a house. 6 months earlier, she and her husband had saved for years, finally found a place they loved, moved in. Now she was supposed to pack up and move, or lose her job. She tried to fight it, said it was unreasonable, unfair, but the rules were clear. The organization could relocate anyone if there was a business need, and there was always a business need if someone wanted there to be one. Her husband could not just pick up and leave. He had his own job, his own life. They fought about it. I did not hear the fights, but I heard about them, from people who still talk to people who talk to her. In the end, She took a demotion at a different organization. Something local, less pay, less responsibility, but at least she could stay in her house. 2 left. Todd actually took the relocation, moved to the other city, left his whole life behind. He lasted 3 months before he could not take it anymore. Being away from his family, living somewhere he did not know anyone, doing the same work but now completely isolated. He came back and took a lower position somewhere else. Anywhere else. 1 left. Brant. He held on longer than I thought he would. Maybe because he was too proud to quit. Maybe because he thought he could still find a way out. He could not. The additional hours wore him down. He was used to leaving early, playing games on his phone, taking long breaks. Now he had to actually be present, actually working. It killed him. The reviews were worse. Turned out, when you actually examined what Brant did all day, it was not much. He was good at delegating, good at taking credit for what other people did, but his own work, barely anything. Every 2 weeks, someone tore apart his performance. Every 2 weeks, he had less and less to hide behind. I did not go out of my way to watch him fall apart, but I saw it anyway. Everyone did. He started looking tired, then angry, then just defeated. 3 months after the rules took effect, Brant was put on a performance plan. Just like Keith had been, he knew what that meant. He quit a week later, took a job somewhere else. I heard it was a step down, less authority, less pay, but at least he was out. I did not feel victorious. I did not celebrate. I just kept doing my work. People started treating me differently again, not with pity or contempt this time, with caution, respect, maybe, or fear. Hard to tell the difference sometimes. New people came in to replace the ones who left. They did not know the whole story, just pieces, rumors. Someone told them I was the person who approved policies. Someone else told them not to cross me. They kept their distance. Derek, the one with my old promotion, started asking me questions again. Work stuff, things he did not know how to handle. I helped him, not because I liked him, but because the work mattered more than my feelings. 6 months after everything fell apart, the owners called me in for a meeting. I thought maybe I was in trouble. Maybe I had pushed too hard, used my position in a way they did not approve of. I was wrong. They wanted to expand my role, give me more authority on the national committee. They said I had good judgment, that I understood how to protect the organization without playing politics. I said yes. A year after the meeting where Brant announced the rules, I was asked to take over his old position, his job, the one he had used to make my life miserable. I almost said no. I did not want to be a manager. I did not want to deal with people and politics and all the things that came with that kind of role. But then I thought about who they might bring in instead. Someone like Brant, maybe. Someone who would cut corners and punish anyone who questioned them. So I said yes. The day I started, I called a meeting. Everyone from the division. Same room where Brant had announced the rules. I stood at the front and looked at all of them. Some I knew. Some were new. I am not going to give you some speech about how things are going to be different now, I said. I am just going to tell you what I expect. Do your work. Do it right. If you do not know how to do something, ask. If you see a problem, say something. If you make a mistake, own it and fix it. I paused. Let that sink in. I do not care if you like me. I do not care if we become friends. I care that when someone looks at what we do here, they see work that was done right. That is it. Someone raised their hand. Young guy. I did not know his name yet. What happens if we disagree with you? He asked. Good question. Then you tell me. Bring me your reasons. Show me why you think I am wrong. If you are right, I will listen. If you are wrong, I will explain why. But you do not go around me. You do not hide things. You come to me directly. He nodded. Anything else? Nobody said anything. Good. Get back to work. They filed out. Slowly, quietly. I stayed in that room for a few minutes after everyone left. Looked at the space where Brant had stood when he announced the rules he thought would end me. Where I had stood when I told him the truth. It felt different now. Not better. Exactly. Just different. I was not the same person I had been a year ago. That version of me thought if you just did good work, people would see it and value it. Thought fairness mattered. I knew better now. Fairness was something you had to fight for. And sometimes fighting meant being smarter than the people trying to hurt you. Meant using their own weapons against them. I did not feel good about what I had done. but I did not feel bad either. They had tried to destroy me. I just made sure I survived. The first month as manager was harder than I expected. Not because of the work itself. I knew the work. I had been doing half of it already for years, while Brant took credit. It was the people that were hard. Some of them were waiting for me to fail. I could see it in how they watched me, waiting for a mistake, waiting to say, "I told you so," even though they had never said anything out loud. Others were too eager to please. They would agree with everything I said, even when I was clearly asking for their opinion. That was almost worse than the ones who wanted me to fail. At least the doubters were honest about it. There was one person who was different. Her name was Ingrid. She had been hired about 8 months before all the chaos with Brant started. Quiet, kept to herself, did her work, and went home. She came to my workspace about 3 weeks after I took over. "You have a minute?" she asked. "Sure." She sat down, did not waste time with small talk. "The process for approving vendor contracts. It does not make sense." I leaned back. "Explain." "We are double-checking things that have already been verified. Then we send it to another department that checks the same things again. It takes twice as long as it needs to, and nobody catches anything new because we are all looking at the same information." She was right. I had noticed the same thing years ago. Mentioned it to Brant once. He told me if it was not broken, do not fix it. Even though it was broken, just not in a way that affected him personally. "What would you change?" I asked. She had a whole plan, thought it through, tested it on a few smaller contracts to see if it worked. It did. "Do it," I said. She blinked. "Just like that? You saw a problem. You found a solution. You tested it. What else do you need from me?" I thought I would have to submit a proposal, get approval from multiple people, wait months. "You just got approval. If it goes wrong, we will fix it. If it works, we will roll it out to everything else." She left looking confused. But 3 weeks later, her new process was cutting approval time in half. No mistakes, no problems, just faster and cleaner. Word got around. Other people started coming to me with ideas. Small things at first. Changes to how we organized information. Better ways to communicate between departments. I said yes to the ones that made sense. No to the ones that did not. Either way, I explained why. Slowly, things started to shift. People stopped waiting for permission to think. They started bringing solutions instead of just complaints. Work got done faster, better, but not everyone was happy about it. There was a manager on a different floor, Graham. He had been there longer than me, longer than almost anyone. He did not like that I had been promoted, did not like that people were listening to me. He started pushing back on things, small things, questioning decisions I made, telling people in his department to ignore new processes I put in place. I let it go for a while, figured he would get tired of fighting over nothing. He did not. It came to a head during a meeting with several department heads. We were discussing how to handle a situation with a client who was upset about delays. I explained what had caused the delay and what we were doing to fix it. Graham interrupted. "Maybe if certain people focused more on their actual job instead of trying to change everything, we would not have these problems." The room went quiet. I looked at him. "You think the delay was caused by process changes?" "I think people are distracted. The delay was caused by a vendor missing a deadline. That has nothing to do with internal processes. Still, maybe if you spent less time playing around with how we do things and more time making sure the basics get done." Playing around, like improving how we worked, was some kind of hobby. I could have argued, could have pointed out all the ways the changes had actually made things better, could have embarrassed him in front of everyone. Instead, I said, "You might be right." He looked surprised. "Tell you what," I continued. "For the next month, your department does not have to follow any of the new processes. Keep doing everything exactly how you were doing it before. We will compare results at the end and see which way works better." He was not expecting that. He thought I would fight him, get defensive. "Fine," he said. "Good." The meeting moved on. 4 weeks later, the numbers were clear. My departments had processed 30% more work with fewer errors. Graham's department was exactly where they had always been. Same speed, same mistake rate. Nothing better, nothing worse. I did not make a big announcement about it, just sent the data to the people who needed to see it, let them draw their own conclusions. Graham never challenged me again, did not apologize either, just stopped pushing back. That was fine with me. I did not need an apology. I just needed him to stop getting in the way. Months passed, then a year, then two. The rules that I had rewritten, the ones that pushed out Brant and his group, eventually expired. I could have extended them, could have made them permanent. I removed them instead. Not because I felt sorry for anyone, but because I did not need them anymore. The people who were left were either good at their jobs or smart enough not to come after me. Besides, I did not want to lead through fear. I had seen what that looked like with Brant. People doing the minimum, hiding mistakes, playing politics instead of working. I wanted people who actually cared about doing things right, and you do not get that by threatening them. Around the 3-year mark, something unexpected happened. The owners called me in again. Same meeting room as before, but this time there were more people. I recognized some of them from the national committee, others I had never seen. They offered me a position at the top level, one step below the owners themselves, overseeing multiple regions, responsible for thousands of people, instead of just my division. I asked for time to think about it. That night, I sat in my apartment and really considered it. This was everything I was supposed to want. More authority, more pay, more respect. But I thought about what it would actually mean. More meetings, more politics, more time spent managing people who were managing people, instead of actually doing the work. I thought about why I started this job in the first place. 11 years ago, I wanted to make sure things were done right, that rules existed for a reason, and people followed them. Not because I liked rules, but because when they were ignored, real people got hurt. If I took this new position, I would be further away from that. I would become the kind of person who approved things without really knowing what they were, who trusted other people to handle the details. I would become the kind of person I had spent years fighting against. The next day, I told them no. They were surprised, asked if I was sure, told me the opportunity might not come around again. I was sure. Instead, I asked for something different. I wanted to stay in my current role but have the authority to audit any department, any region, anytime I thought something was wrong. I wanted the ability to stop processes that were cutting corners, to hold people accountable when they tried to hide problems. They agreed. So that is what I did. For the next 2 years, I became the person everyone was a little afraid of. Not because I was cruel, but because if you were doing something wrong, I would find out, and there would be consequences. I caught managers falsifying reports, departments ignoring safety requirements, people taking credit for work they did not do. Every time, I documented everything, gave people a chance to explain, and when they could not, I made sure the right people knew about it. Some people hated me for it, called me harsh, unreasonable, said I was on a power trip. Maybe they were right. Maybe I had become too hard, too unforgiving. But I also saved jobs, caught problems before they became disasters, made sure people who actually did good work got recognized instead of pushed aside. 5 years after Brant announced those rules in that meeting, I was still there, still doing the work. Most of the people from that day were gone. Some quit, some retired, some moved on to other things. New people came in. They did not know the whole story, just pieces. They knew I had been there a long time, that I had worked my way up, that people respected me, even if they did not always like me. One of the new hires asked me once, during a training session, how I had lasted so long. I thought about it, really thought about what to say. I did not try to be likable, I finally told her. I tried to be right, and when people tried to push me out, I made sure I was too valuable to lose. She nodded, like that made sense. But later, alone, I thought about that answer, wondered if it was really true. The truth was messier. I lasted because I got lucky, because I happened to be on that committee, because Brant was stupid enough not to read what he was approving. If any of those things had been different, I would have been the one pushed out. I would have quit or been fired, and nobody would have cared. That is the part that still bothers me sometimes. How close it came, how easily it could have gone the other way. But it did not. I survived, and I made sure the people who tried to destroy me paid for it. Was that revenge? Maybe. I never thought of it that way at the time. I thought of it as justice, as protecting myself. Now, looking back, I am not sure there is a difference. I am still at Crestline Industries, still in the same building, though my workspace is different now, bigger, with a window. Sometimes I walk past the meeting room where it all happened, where Brant stood and announced those rules, where I stood up and changed everything. It looks the same. Same projection on the wall. Same chairs arranged in rows. But it feels different. Like a place where something important happened. Even though most people who use it now have no idea. I am not the same person I was that day. I am harder, more careful, less willing to trust that doing good work is enough. But I am still here, still making sure things are done right, still asking the questions nobody wants to hear. And nobody, not once in the 5 years since that meeting, has tried to push me out again. They know better now. Before I finish, I want to say thank you for sticking with me through this whole story. I know it was long. I know it was not always easy to hear. But if you made it this far, that means something. If this story meant something to you, if it made you think or feel or remember something from your own life, I would love to hear about it. Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought. And if you want to hear more stories like this, hit that like button. Subscribe, because there are more stories to tell, more truths that need to be heard. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Now go do whatever you need to do next. And remember, sometimes the best way to win is just to be smarter than the people trying to beat you.